You've probably heard some of these phrases before. Save for retirement, pay yourself first, and look after your future so that you don't have to piggyback on someone else when you reach retirement. And yes, it is true. You will one day reach a point in your life where you won't be earning a salary anymore, but you will still need a place to stay, food to eat, and stuff to do to keep you busy. And all of these things will cost you money, and this money will need to come from somewhere. Enter the term investments. Now, I'm sure most people are aware of what it means to invest money and why it is important, but seeing that it is not the norm to be properly educated about these things in school, many people will get completely overwhelmed by all the different types of investments there are, where to invest their money, and how much they need to invest. And I don't blame them. I, for sure, was completely perplexed the first time I sat down with a financial advisor when he spat out abbreviations such as TFSA, RAs, ETFs, etc. It almost felt like I'm being forced to put my money into things that I didn't understand at all, and that scared me. And I'm sure it will scare many others as well, therefore resulting in them being completely put off of investing. So if this is you, then I'm really glad that you made it to this video. You are already far ahead of the pack by showing an interest in saving for your retirement, and therefore I salute you, because not many people is doing that, especially not from a very young age. In fact, 10x did a survey in 2020 which found that about half of the participants didn't even have a retirement plan, and 70% of people across all the income brackets were highly concerned that they won't have enough to live on during their retirement years. Now, these are scary numbers, and I do believe that the results from this survey reflect the circumstances of the majority of South Africans. And what is even more concerning is that almost half of those who actually have a retirement plan have no idea of what fees they are paying on their investments, which can also end up crippling their long-term growth. So in this video, I'm going to keep it very simple. When looking at retirement in South Africa, there are basically two investments that are hands down the best options to consider, in my opinion. A tax-free savings account, or TFSA, and a retirement annuity, or RA. Now, I already made an in-depth video on each of these investments that I will link to down in the description and on the info cards that I urge you to watch as well. So for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to compare the two of each other, highlighting their respective strengths, and then at the end I will give you some suggestions on which one would be the best fit for you. Now, I will start off by saying that when it comes to investing for retirement through a tax-free savings account or retirement annuity, there is no right or wrong choice. It is actually more like a choice between great and awesome. So either way, you will be much better off investing in either than not investing at all. Okay, so let's look at how these two compare to each other. Starting with number one, the type of investment. Now, both a RA and a tax-free savings account is basically an investment account in which you can put investment blocks, such as unit trusts, ETFs, bonds, or even cash. Number two, tax treatment of the contributions. With a RA, your contributions will be tax deductible, meaning it can be deducted from your annual gross income before you pay tax. So, in essence, if you earn 300,000 Rand per year, and you contribute 30,000 Rand to your RA, then you will effectively only be taxed on 270,000 Rand. So if you already paid tax on the full 300,000 Rand, you will get a big tax refund on the 30,000 Rand based on your marginal tax rate. So for the 2021-2022 financial period, you will fall within the 26% tax bracket, so your refund will be 30,000 Rand times 26%, which is around 7,800 Rand. Now with a tax-free savings account, your contributions will not be tax deductible. You still have to pay tax on your full income, and your contributions will therefore be after-tax money. So no refund from SARS on this one. Number three, contribution limits. With a RA, you have a maximum annual contribution of 27.5% of your gross salary, or a maximum amount of 350,000 Rand per year, whichever is less. If you invest more than these limits, then the excess will simply be carried over to the next financial year without any tax penalties. With a tax-free savings account, you have a maximum annual contribution of 36,000 Rand, as well as a lifetime contribution limit of 500,000 Rand. So if you invest your full 36,000 Rand every year, you will reach your lifetime limit in just under 14 years. Also note that the contribution limits only apply to the money which you put into the tax-free savings account. And that means that any interest, dividends or proceeds earned from the investments inside of the account will not affect your annual or lifetime limits. If you exceed the contribution limits on a tax-free savings account, then you will receive a tax penalty of 40% on the excess. Ouch! Don't do that. Number 4, tax on investments. Now this is the great part. You don't have to pay any tax on the investment growth or dividends and interest received inside either a RA or tax-free savings account. This means you don't have to pay any interest tax, dividend withholding tax or capital gains tax. This is probably the most powerful part of both these investments, as it basically means your investments will now work harder for you because you get to keep more of the returns. Number 5, investment rules. With a RA, SARS has quite a local is lacquer approach, and therefore at least 75% of your portfolio needs to be allocated to South African investments, or at least 70% to South Africa if the other 5% is allocated to African investments. You are also not allowed to invest more than 75% of your portfolio in equities and not more than 25% of your portfolio in listed property. With a tax-free savings account, you are not limited in terms of needing to invest a certain percentage of your portfolio into equities, property, unit trust or cash. And you're also not limited to only South African investments. So if you want to go all out on offshore investments, then there's nothing stopping you. But you are not allowed to invest into neither single commodities such as gold or platinum, nor ETN, also known as exchange traded notes. The reasoning behind this is that without these restrictions, there would be nothing stopping an investor from putting their entire retirement savings into a commodity such as gold, as this is not diversified at all and is therefore very risky. Number 6, access to money. With a RA, you cannot access your money until after the age of 55, except in the event of financial immigration or during a divorce settlement. But in either of these cases, there will be a tax penalty for taking your funds out early. Now, after the age of 55, you can take out up to 1/3 of the RA as cash, whilst the remaining 2/3 need to be converted into either a living or a guaranteed life annuity, or both. If the total value of your RA is less than 247,500, then you can take it all out as cash once off. With a tax-free savings account, you have full access to your money at all times, and you can take it out at any time that you like. There's no limitation on the amount that can be taken out as cash at a time, and there are also no conversions to other products necessary. Number 7, tax when accessing the money. With a RA, the 1/3 portion that is taken out as cash is taxable on a sliding scale, with the first 500,000 Rand tax-free, and the monthly income received from the living or guaranteed life annuity is subject to income tax according to the normal income tax tables for that specific year if the fund value is worth more than 247,500 Rand at retirement. With a tax-free savings account, there is no tax payable when the money is accessed. So, in essence, you save tax on the contributions to your RA, but are then taxed later on when you access the money. And with a tax-free savings account, you pay tax on your contributions as you invest with after-tax money, but then you don't have to pay any tax at a later stage when you access the money. And number 8, Creditors and estate duty. An RA protects your savings from creditors and estate duty by distributing your savings directly to the nominated beneficiaries once approved by the trustees of the fund. This means that if you die and is declared insolvent, then your creditors cannot touch your RA investments. A tax-free savings account offers no protection against creditors except when invested in a life policy, in which case it will be paid directly to the nominated beneficiaries upon death. Otherwise, it will be paid to your estate. And if your estate is worth more than 3.5 million rand, then estate duty could be payable. So now that you have a pretty good understanding of how a RA and tax-free savings account compare to each other, you might be wondering which one of these is best suited for you. Again, they are both excellent products to save for retirement, as the tax breaks you get is pretty awesome. So you can't go wrong with either. But there are a few things that you may need to consider when deciding which one is better suited for your goals. Number one, when do you plan to retire? If you are part of the FIRE community, then you probably don't want to follow the mainstream idea of retiring only after the age of 55. Then you may want to consider a tax-free savings account above an RA, as an RA does not allow you to access your money before the age of 55. You can also argue that an RA can give you that extra injection of money once you reach 55, but if you can only choose one of the two, then a tax-free savings account will work best. Number two, do you already have a work pension fund? If your employer is nice enough to provide you with a pension fund, then you already have an RA type product, as the tax treatments and rules around pension funds are pretty similar to an RA. So in this case, you may want to consider a tax-free savings account instead of an RA so that you can diversify your tax treatment. Number three, do you fall within a very high tax bracket? If you are lucky enough to earn a lot of money, then you will automatically fall into the higher tax brackets. That's just how it works. So if this is you, then the tax deductions on your RA contributions can really supercharge your investments and will probably leave you better off than if you used a tax-free savings account. With that said, when you do get your lack of fat tax refund from SARS, just plug it straight into your tax-free savings account and let SARS fund your tax-free savings account for you. Number four, how aggressive do you want to invest? A tax-free savings account has a lot less restrictions on where you can invest your money than an RA. So if you want to take on a higher risk, higher return approach and want more offshore exposure, which does make sense in any long-term investment, then a tax-free savings account will probably suit you better. And number five, how disciplined are you when saving and investing? Are you someone who is comfortable putting money away and forgetting about it until you need it at retirement? Or are you someone who will easily dig your dirty little fingers into your savings to help fund short-term desires? In case of the latter, then the withdrawal restrictions on an RA is rather a benefit than a bug, as this will force you to save for retirement, whereas with a tax-free savings account, even though you might have the best intention to save for retirement, the flexibility that it offers may cause you to withdraw more often than is ideal, which will eat away at your retirement savings. Now, if you are still not sure which one to choose, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing a combination of both. There are no rules preventing you from having both, and this will ensure that you get the benefits of both types of retirement products, as well as giving you a lot of flexibility when you eventually retire. For me personally, I want to retire much earlier than 55. I believe I'm rather disciplined with leaving my investments alone. I would like to take on a more aggressive approach to my long-term investments, and I don't currently have a pension fund with my employer. So for me, I will prioritize filling up my tax-free savings account every month first, and then I will split up the remainder of my savings towards a retirement annuity, as well as other diversified taxable investments, such as ETFs, bonds, property, and cash. This will allow me to take full advantage of the tax benefits of both, whilst also ensuring that I will be able to retire comfortably early on using my tax-free savings account and taxable investments, and then later on when I do turn 55, I will have another healthy injection of retirement money once my RA pays out. Now Peter, it is great and all to learn about these powerful investment vehicles, but what does it help if I don't have any money to save? Well, that is exactly why I created this channel. My aim is to help improve your financial literacy so that you can become your own financial advisor and thus develop the discipline to adjust your budget and spending habits, as well as the perseverance to stick to your savings plan so that you can ensure that you have a safe and powerful retirement plan. So, if this is something that you feel like you need in your life right now, then consider subscribing. And if you found any value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you can leave a like, as this helps to motivate me to continue making these types of videos in the future. And if you are looking for ways to save money to free up some cash to invest into a tax-free savings account or RA, then please check out my playlist over here on easy life hacks that will definitely help you out. Anyways guys, that's all for today, and as always, have a lekker day and I'll see you in another video next week. Cheers!